Okay, we're back on, and I believe this should be working. Am I in the best humor or excited to get back at it tonight? Maybe not, but... Well, I've been reading the Dune novels again, and I'm almost done with Messiah, and as I've been doing so, as I'm inclined to do, I've been reading about Frank Herbert as well, and something he said I'm trying to keep in mind is that, looking back on his own work, he couldn't tell the difference when reading Dune again, which parts he wrote which came easily, he felt inspired and driven to get them down, and which parts he just kind of got done because he sat down at his typewriter or his word processor, whatever he had, and he just said to himself, yep, this is the time for writing today, so we're gonna write. And the impression I get is that you people largely feel the same about this channel. There are times, precious few, when things are coming well and easy, and times when it's like, fuck it, people count on me for whatever reason, I should deliver something, so let's sit down and make video. This is one of those times. Most of them are, actually. You people don't seem to notice, and frankly, once I get going, I don't think I notice after I've been doing this for about 5 minutes either. It just takes on its own momentum. Except for all those times it didn't, but you don't have those videos, do you? Anyway, what I'm saying is, I haven't come into this video tonight with a master plan or anything, but maybe that'll be for some good contrast. I've always got a miscellaneous backlog of about a million goddamn things I could say about a million things inside my head, so yeah, we're never going to be hurting for things to say when I'm at the microphone, I don't think. I'm just taking a long way to tell you all that, yes, we're really going in a kind of, alright, let's pick up the game and see what comes of it mood tonight. But you know, we're on a certain level where we've established the broad outline of how I believe you should think about Halo 2 to understand it as a production, and a lot of the more interesting ideas of the plot have come out at this point. This is probably a good point in the game to start just appreciating it as you, perhaps we might say, would more organically just experience it as you play it. So, that said, we'll do a quick graphic swap just to get that all, like, into the game's memory. There it goes. Let me make sure we're recording. Yep, so... again, we're kind of... colors and the whole kind of tint of the level just gets a bit funny if we do that. Like, no, it's all grey, but nice grey with these nice metallic purples in it. I don't like this weird shiny metal thing. In some senses, you could say there's more color in this rendition of the scene, but, you know, again, it's all color defined by light bouncing off of things, and no, I prefer the kind of pervasive kind of color tint that's all in the air. It's kind of, we're in a world that's just saturated with a certain kind of color. We're in a hued world rather than a world of hard bouncing lights. I find this nice. But before we go on, just what I've noticed while I'm doing that. Nice reflections on the plasma pistol in this, I find. It's more like Halo 1 than I remember, just that brilliant, simple, metallic sheen on this thing, that we've still got that to a good extent. It's different, but recognizably related to what we had in the first game. Now, let's do the no fun button. Does light play off this thing? Kind of. But it almost has a similar, like, basketball finish to, like, the undersuit of the elites, and also just look at poor Mr. Arbiter's hand and how they couldn't quite figure out what to do with that. Like, they made him, like, are those scales or gloves or claws? I don't quite think they could decide, but yes, the idea in here is very much just, like, skin-tight gloves. It's all kind of, like, purpley, flesh tone, whatever. Just a very, like, inoffensive, not at all intrusive way his hands look in the old graphics, whereas here they're kind of like, what is this, like, weird, busy Godzilla texturing they've done to poor Arbiter's hand and forearm? I don't like it. Do you get a weird impression looking at this like I do? Oh, we can also check out his legs while we're here. Yeah, again, it's just a bit more of everything in a way I don't care for, and again, all of the old graphics, everything feels kind of imbued with this very pleasing kind of universal color tinting, grading, whatever we want to call this, that just makes Halo 2 such a pleasant thing to revisit to me. It gives it so much character, whereas when the graphics are on this, it's kind of, you've seen 2 seconds of this game, you've seen the whole thing. It's all going to be, you know, hard lights bouncing onto, like, cheap Chinese LEDs bouncing off of, you know, like, weird metal, not quite concrete walls. I don't know. But yeah, last level we were in the interesting kind of ruin theory of value zone, whatever you want to call it. I was discussing that with someone, just how interesting that is. Someone was tweeting about it, was a fan of this video. You might have seen that. Yes, people can tweet about and repeat things I say here, and they don't have to give me bibliography credit. I want these games better appreciated. Just take the thoughts and run with them in whatever direction pleases you. It makes me happy to see that they're being thought about. That's good. So anyway, what was I saying? Yes, last video we were in the kind of odd, kind of semi-ornamental or memorial-ish in construction kind of ruin zones, which was built in, around, and kind of in place of these old business constructions, but now we seem to be in a much more important area, and Forerunner architecture is very much back in the zone of all business, you know. There's a bit of lines and such running up this wall. Not really a great difference setting to setting, but yes, these things just kind of having the lines through them is the Halo 2 look. There's a bit of lines in Halo 1, it doesn't bother me. So that's kind of where we're at. We're out of the kind of like memorial decoration zone where the overgrown stone ruins kind of overlap with some of the simpler looking Forerunner installations. Like, no, this place is this giant wall thing that albino Sasquatch dropped us off in front of, if you remember right, if you were just watching the last video. Yes, it's, this seems to be important. The prophets told us we were looking for the index, as in the first game. This is another Halo ring, it has another one of those, and the index is the on key. And the index was in a giant, weird, fortified structure in the first game, and 343 Guilty Spark took us there because a human needs to be the one to pick it up. Because, of course, the index was built by humans, and that's kind of their not having the Flood or anyone else sabotage the Halo Ring insurance plan that all of the ring's key functions need to be handled by a human being. And I guess Spark can't do that himself in case he goes nuts, or, you know, they just didn't think it would be fitting or appropriate that an artificial intelligence should be the one to kind of make the final decision for the fate of sentient life in the universe, which strikes me as fair enough. Last thing we'll look at here. This looks kind of flimsier in construction in a way I don't like. That looks a bit too much like iron rebar, and the way it's like burning is a bit too much like familiar mundane materials, whereas yeah, this just looks a bit weirder and spazzier, like we can't quite tell what's happened here, and yeah, I think that just that bit of ambiguity works well. We'll take a plasma rifle. Not many people give the plasma rifle good credit. We'll take 2, in fact. Take a plasma rifle. Take 2. You've been keeping up with your TV memes? I do. But anyway, yes, this whole game, it's kind of divided into little, like, acts or episodes, which are mostly made up of 2 levels, as we've been noticing that I've been covering, like, 2 levels each for most of these episodes so far, and I think I'll do that again. But the other thought I wanted to say is just that this game kind of mirrors the first game, but just twists it a bit, like I was pointing out that the first 2 real levels of this game where fighting in the space human construction thing, the Pillar of Autumn, and then Cairo Station, you fight off the aliens invading a human environment in space. Then you land on a terrestrial environment, the Halo Ring in the first game, actual Earth in the second, and you know, fight with groups of Marines, and you start in a higher area shooting down as they come for you, and there are dropships and so on. Then you get a Warthog. You know, they're kind of playing off of the expectations and what worked in the first game, but making it quite new at the same time. Speaking of, let's look at the plasma rifles. Again, they just have a weird surface finish I don't like, that like weird kind of hex layering. Can you see that? Like, no, just make it smooth. Make things smooth, please, don't be afraid of that. Also, they gave it a little like car dashboard screen that I don't like. Do those turn red or something if I overheat these? Let's check. They do, but I don't like that. I like that the little thing on the side is your heatsink read instead. But anyway, yes, the game kind of mirrors the first game, but doesn't quite do it the same, and of course, this is the library, and we're the Arbiter, so finding these guys dead means they're dead friendlies, so yes, what I'm saying is that this is the level 343 Guilty Spark from the first game kind of getting its remix for the second. And I'll just say as well that, you know, Bungie had made several sequels at this point, and they were very much kind of self-consciously playing with their own achievements up to that point in each case, that Marathon kind of becomes an increasingly self-referential and complex language of, like, level and narrative construction. And I would say that the same is true of Myth 2, that, like, you know, the intro story prologue in the Myth 2 manual kind of plays with the idea that, like, yes, it's happening again. Things get better with a retelling, or whatever it is they say in the manual if you read those. And you really should read the manuals of Bungie's games, especially up to Halo 2, which is, you know, like, Pathways into Darkness to Halo 2. I consider that, like, the true Bungie oeuvre. That's, you know, when they are the company that, you know, I love, the one that all of the human elements are there, primarily Jason Jones having enough influence to really make these one unified class of experience. And as we'll unfortunately get into when we get there, and we might quite soon, if I start talking about Halo 3, unfortunately, Halo 3 onwards, Bungie games become the story of Bungie's decline, which is a bit sad. But, you know, Halo 2, they're still in their prime, playing with what they've already done, and this level, again, it's all familiar. We get dropped off in an eerie grey place where there's kind of an odd tinge in the air and some eerie atmosphere. The party already happened, everybody's dead, and yeah, let's go inside and see what's happening. What are these? They're like sentinels, but they can't do anything. How about that? Anyway, what's up here? Hey, buddy. Whoa! Teaching moment. A show don't tell Vania born like. Some Covenant are still alive, and there are sentinels who come out of holes in the wall and attack us. Also, I was trying to trigger a kind of Easter egg or quirk of this level here. I'm not sure if it went off. I might have gotten screwed out of it anyway. I think something they built into this level is that that grunt who was shooting the lock on this shoot hatch thing, if I remember right, he can't die if you let him shoot the hatch off. Like, if he does that, he gets, like, unlimited HP, but then he got stuck going down the hatch, so I guess we don't get to see that grunt fight his way through the level. But don't worry, there are a few more friendly Covenants scattered around, and we'll try to build a little team. And yeah, same but different. We're going into a weird abandoned Forerunner complex full of dead allies to find an index, but unlike in the first game where that was, you know, a few scattered Covenant and then the Flood, this is a Sentinel level, at least for the minute. And yeah, before we got here... And yeah, before we got here, the brutes apparently sent in a few waves of shitters to...
Our savior! Stupid jackal, say thank you.
they apparently sent in a few waves of shitters to scout ahead and, yeah, get killed by the first few waves of obstacles. And I appreciate that the jackals can't talk in this game. Something 343 eventually did was make all of them talk, and they gave them very cape-shitty dialogue, all written in English. And it's all very much like playing off of their primary trope you'll learn about them if you read the wiki, and I just consider that very lame. Like, no, I like that the jackal are just weird, shrieking bird people. And that, yes, they play off of that there with that line from the grunt saying, like, fucking, jackal, you gotta thank the Arbiter. But, you know, he can't talk because he's a jackal. That's very funny, if you ask me. And yeah, if you didn't know, you should know if you've been following Halo for a bit. It's just kind of a fact that gets around, and I hope I'd have said it by this point, but I may not have. All of the grunts are played by Joseph Staten, and that carries on until like 343, I think. Or maybe in Halo Reach they stop talking, they get a kind of evil, grunting alien voice in that game, and then, you know, 343 onwards, if they talk. I don't even remember if they talk in Halo 4, that game is so devoid of character. But anyway, yes. The grunts in this game are played by Joseph Staten, and I find that very funny and cool. And Bungie, they always had a very congenial atmosphere with their voice acting. Some of the old sessions were recorded by them and are now... Apparently they even killed brutes getting to this thing. Well, anyway, yes, the old Bungie voice recording sessions are very entertaining if you find footage of them. Joseph Staten plays the grunts in this, and also Marty O'Donnell's father plays the dwarfs in Myth, which is quite funny, and they're one of the more entertaining lines. And also, if you look closely at one of the terminal series in Myth, the human resistance leader in that game is... You know, he doesn't have a voice actor because it's... Sorry, not Myth, Marathon. There are no voice actors in Marathon, but the human resistance leader addresses you with a, like, series of webcam photos when he is addressing you through his text consoles, and the portrait there, the photo portrait, is of Jason Jones. So they kind of work themselves into the games in these fun little ways, and it doesn't feel kind of like obnoxiously attention-seeking or anything, because, you know, it's all very much like a cheap, fun production where they just do a lot of stuff themselves or with friends or people they know. And of course, like, that's how they got, Cortana. Someone on the team just knew her through, like, an acting program at university or something like that. And yeah, what a great connection that turned out to be.
Arbiter, protect!
Yeah, I'm trying, man. Where... There he is. Did the other guys not come with? Oh well, us and this guy. And yeah, grunts can actually use plasma rifles if you didn't know. We'll see if he does any good coming along with us. Hey, he's still alive. Good job.
Another enemy!
Oop. Yeah, the grunts are suitably paranoid for being grunts, that if you, like, if they tell you there's enemies around, they're, like, not just, like, spewing out a line. Like, no, they just detect them very easily and start freaking out immediately, which I find quite funny. But yeah, this level, it's, you could say, though, that we're still mirroring 343 Guilty Spark, and we're just in the... Gee, that probably would have killed me. You could say we're still mirroring 343 Guilty Spark, and this is just the descent stage of the level. Yeah, that grunt can deal with that himself. Oh, and this is one of those things that it took a Phantom to fight off before. Don't worry, we got it. Normal difficulty. I'm on normal difficulty, Tartarus, we'll be fine. Ooh. Are there any other Covenant around here to distract it, or are they all dead? Maybe not. Also, how does he look on new graphics? Weirdly lower tech. They like, he's one of the few things they actually smoothed out that, like, No, it's kind of very much the deliberate look of this guy, that he is like a weird, janky junk machine who you rip apart as you fight him. It feels, to me at least, kind of wrong to like rip parts off of a machine that looks more smooth and intact. Like, he exploded like that, he's meant to look kind of junk looking. You know, it's a robot bruiser. Like, not a bruiser specifically though, like they called him an enforcer. Like, yeah, he's kind of a, like, crude robot as far as those go, is the idea very much, I think. But we cleaned him up, so now we get to the next part of the level. You got it, albino Sasquatch, you're my greatest ally.
Release the power source. Now, find a way to remove it from its cradle.
I seem to remember you can actually, get the other Covenant who were with me earlier to this point in the level. Not that I think they'd last much longer, but they were around. If I really cared to, I could have brought them to here and maybe a fair bit further. And, ooh, isn't this pretty? Buyer's remorse, what could that mean? Okay, they still have, like, the subtle snow going here, but... yeah, again, it feels more like light dominates this scene, whereas this one, again, color dominates. Like,
Path to the library is clear. I'll pick you up on the ledge ahead.
the kind of prevailing impression I get from this one is that, like, the cold is a tinge that kind of paints the whole scene with color, whereas here it's like, okay, it's that subtle wind effect and these little white dots. It's okay, but nah.
Blasted machine! Make your own way through the wall, Arbiter.
Okay. Oh hey, and look at that. Flood. We are on this game's 343 Guilty Spark. I want what he's holding. And yeah, three-way battle. And you may have just seen there, I think it's like the funniest thing in this game, that the elites can carry human weapons. Which means that the Arbiter can hold an SMG and this USP thing. And I love that, like, he gets it out and he immediately knows, like, oh, safety off so it's ready to fire. I learned how to use this thing in elite school. And yes, he one-hands all of them because he's an elite. I was actually looking at pages from the Halo 1 manual again. Someone tweeted them, and yes. In Halo 1, I don't know if these lines stuck, but in the Halo 1 manual they say an elite is 8'6". So, you know, these guys are goddamn massive, so yes, the Arbiter can quite comfortably one-hand an SMG, but it is just like the funniest image in the game by far, I think. Just like, look at this goddamn thing. Look at the way he's holding it and how he just, like, one-hands it with no recoil. That's fucking hilarious. And fire my USP at this thing with my gigantic elite hand. Apparently just, you know, just shove one digit through the trigger guard and it works just fine. Why shouldn't it? Very, very funny. But yes, how the aliens would interact with human guns is actually something they thought out a little bit in this game. That's something we'll see kind of next section. I just got sent, like, flying by this thing opening. And yeah, this is where it's gonna spawn more guys. And who are these guys, you may be asking? Well, if you remember, you probably don't, it's alright. What was the last thing Miranda Keyes said she was going to be doing? She said that she was going to look for the Index while we dealt with the Prophet, as the Master Chief, that is. So yeah, this is Commander Keyes' expedition to get the Index. Apparently she brought like 200 fucking Marines with her, and all of them got grabbed by the Flood. So yeah, good job. It's okay though, she tried, we like her anyway. She's black-haired Heather from Silent Hill 3. And yeah, so that's what's going on in this game. 343 Guilty Spark did happen again, just yeah, we aren't the UNSC, so we have a weirder relationship with this scene. We rock up, all the humans are dead, and we don't really give a shit. We're just here to get the Index, so yeah, you know, we're the Arbiter, and Stupid humans, they were messing with Forerunner stuff. That's not for them, don't they know that? And yeah, wacky, crazy Bungie battle full of independent entities beating the shit out of each other. The humanoid flood with ballistic weapons, and the whatchamacallums, the Sentinels are going to be fighting. That's the kind of setup for this level. Lots and lots of human guns because human flood. And yeah, I really like the SMGs and Arbiter with a shotgun. That's funny as hell. Again, just pick this thing up, it just works. Arbiter's been watching, he's been learning, he knows how they all work. They didn't even have this kind of shotgun in Halo 1, but the Arbiter still learned, he's that good. One hand our SMG. Oh wait, but it's Halo 2. Yeah, now we're talking. Is this the funniest thing you've ever seen in a video game, or is it? And maybe marginally less funny if we do this, I don't know. Again, I have to give credit where it's due, like, this visual style is all about light and, you know, it does its job. Like, in a dark area, if I fire 2 ballistic weapons, we get, like, you know, lots of sparks of light flying out, so, you know, they did at least, like, the bare minimum of committing to the bit with deciding, like, yeah, we're going to define Halo 2 visually as a game all about lighting, contrast, rather than, you know, using color tones to set a scene. And I've said that 100 times, but it's just, it hits me in the face every time I hit that button, how, like, yeah, it really is like 2 radically different approaches to how to set up the game and define what's going on. Oh, now you're fucked, Flood. Double SMG Arbiter. Alien palm-gripping 2 submachine guns. And you know what's funny? The Arbiter still retracts the stock when he's holding one of them, even though he is palm-gripping this thing. But yeah, then he folds it in when he's using 2 still. I just find that funny. Just a very quirky, eccentric system to have the Arbiter hold 2 SMGs, and he obeys the same fundamental rules as the Chief with stock discipline. Again, the Arbiter's been learning. He's taken his human gun learning seriously. He read the owner's manual for this, apparently. And, ooh, look, these Marines only died more recently. They've still got their stuff.
We'll hold down as long as we can. Get off me!
Look, living Marines.
Suppressive fire!
Get him, buddy. Yeah, we'll go around, but I don't think he's going to be there when we get there. Yeah, frankly, I'm surprised he even lasted that long, but yeah, there are like 2 living Marines who spawn in this level, or maybe 3 who are fighting. You can just see them over that gap to, you know, it's like how they do in some of the as far back as some of the Myth and Marathon levels, where they'll just have NPCs doing stuff, like not built in as objectives, but just like basically living props, because if you drop them in, they do behaviors that would suit the character in that scenario. Like Myth gets a lot of personality from having like villagers run around and get slaughtered by monsters, and even in Marathon, the like helpless crew of the Starship Marathon is getting like wiped out by aliens on a few of the levels. They're just great living props. Like, it's one thing for the game to, like, you know, give you inter-chapter cards showing the crew getting attacked, or right down in the terminal give you a cutscene or a scripted scenario. Like, no, they've written the AI for these guys. If they just drop them in place and drop the aliens in place, the scene will act itself out organically, and I just think that's very brilliant, charming, and ingenious that they can do that and it works. Man, that shotgun Flood is not fucking around, is he? Okay. Where's shotgun guy? I've got to clean him up before he does me again. Alright, where's my shotgun? Who wants some of this? Oh, shotgun guy died. That one got rezzed. And yeah, what do you think of the Flood models in this game? I think they look, human-wise, maybe slightly more like guys who just got ripped open, like you can see more of the original uniform more clearly, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's just the difference of the uniform being a more distinct tone, because yeah, all the Marine soldiers, whatever you want to call them, are wearing olive green in this game instead of the kind of grey with brownish earth tone armor on top from the first game, which I do probably prefer, but I don't mind how they look in this game. I remember it being a bit disappointing back in the day that, like, oh, Halo guys look more like soldiers in every other game now, but, like, no, I think just looking closely this playthrough, I can see more of, like, the consistency that, like, no, they do look pretty on point for the brand, and also it's just a pretty good design with more going on than I remember. Like, it's still got the kind of chest plate built in, not that it did these guys much good. They maybe look a bit grislier, more like messed up corpses rather than, like, you know, the brown blob piles of repurposed flesh that they are in Halo 1. Again, it's another thing that kind of brings them closer to Half-Life 2 in my mind, is that, like, yeah, they look more like the head crab zombies now. And just thinking of times they went into production, would head crabs have influenced the infection forms in Halo? I don't actually know, because, you know, we have the, like, Rob McLeese or whoever hitting his thumb with a hammer story, and honestly, I think that that probably seems like it was such a, like, impetus moment for, like, driving what the Flood came to be, that I can actually imagine that the Flood infection form emerged completely independently just because they were so enamored with this image they had of, like, a man's beaten to shit infected thumb as, like, yeah, they made the infected thumb an enemy in the form of the infection form. Like, yes, it's just what starts the, like, alien zombie outbreak thing, like a little malevolent sentient thumb that jumps on people, and again, like, it all comes back to other things as well. Like, you could say it jumps at you like a face, like a head crab, but what I was going to instinctively say there, not trying to avoid the Half-Life connection, is Facehugger from Halo, which is of course where the head crab comes from. And I'm not trying to say, like, it's okay, like, I need to cope here, like, they both stole from Alien, like, no, this whole channel, I hope we've established over and over again that we believe that creative genealogies are a perfectly healthy and good thing, and that it's only good to understand them further, and there is nothing at all wrong with having very, very rich roots behind your work of things you are taking from. Now this level, yeah, we just keep going now, this level, you might have noticed it's a combination kind of the library and 343 Guilty Spark. I think they kind of noticed that, you know, Bungie have always, like, known how stuff roughly feels while they're making it. They're intelligent guys, and also they listen to feedback. Like, there's a joke in Marathon 2 about everybody's least favorite part in Marathon 1. They know roughly how they're being received. They know that people fucking hated the library. Bunch of fucking crybabies. So they... yeah, there's no, like, repetitive scenery here. You get to go through these... come on. This is structurally kind of your Flood Gauntlet level, and it's your, like, little thematic horror movie level where you kind of put together that something went very wrong by just... you know, we don't get a big flashy cutscene here, but just by reading the level we can see that, like, yes, while we weren't looking, while we were fighting the Prophet of Regret, Miranda Keyes accidentally got her crew into a little horror movie, exactly like her dad did. And yeah, we're looking at the aftermath. We don't get to see what happened, but we can figure that it was exactly like the little found footage horror movie built into Halo 1. Another leader named Keyes led a bunch of Marines into a Forerunner facility looking for something important sounding, and whoops, it's full of goddamn zombie monsters. And yeah, again, this new visual look, it's very proud of how hard it can dump shining lights on top of you, but it just can't do, like, it can't do scenes by giving you tinges of color, and that's... what a shame. I mean, like, we do get a tinge in the distance, but it's not the same, like... everything feels very coldly... okay, that's an interesting effect, I'll give them credit. Not necessarily better or worse, but firing 2 SMGs inside is making a weird echoey kind of sound, which is interesting enough for me to like stop what I'm saying and note it, so you know, for better or worse, it is something rather than nothing. But yes, I do really love the kind of classic rapid popcorn sound of these SMGs. It's just lots and lots of character, but yeah, both sound nice. I'm not going to call really a like hard winner on SMG sound effects. But yeah, like color tone, grading, color, tinting, whatever we want to call it, the entire look of a level, this still feels dominated by light coming down from above and a kind of cold lit feeling, like I'm watching a movie remastered for Blu-ray. And then in the distance they give me this weird like sickly puke green distance fog as a kind of light tint in the distance, but no, like there is a very much like a complete like whole level atmosphere setting they've put on. I haven't messed with Bungie's engine stuff, so I don't know how they do it. I don't know the... I'm sorry if language is failing me, but the color feels more like it is completely everywhere. Like we are walking through the color rather than it being a tinge in the distance. Like the entire level, like the air has this color to it to the point where it's not even walking through colored air. Like the whole world is just yellow or green or gold or gray for a given Halo 2 level, in a way that I don't get when I update the graphics. I'm in the same like cold, sterile kind of air no matter where I go with that graphics setting on. Just, you know, there's a baking sun or a sense that I'm cold, but either way the air just feels kind of sterile and devoid of this kind of visual warmth, this pervasive coloring, which, yeah, is Halo 2. And as you can see, we've gotten to a new area of this place and new flood. Again, the story evolves. We've got elite flood here now, so clearly this is either a part of the operation got ahead, people got through the wall at a different point,
Negative,
or
ma'am. They are not Covenant. Cover that doorway.
they got dropped off ahead of us and, yeah, met with some trouble, those elites, but yeah, the situation continues to develop and little piles of stuff left behind by these unfortunate Marines who really did not know what they were getting into. No, they are not Covenant. Apparently word didn't get around that thoroughly about the flood. I don't blame naval intelligence or whoever was in charge of that decision, frankly. If the Master Chief towards the back end of his campaign discovered the looming apocalypse on top of the present one humanity is already dealing with, I think it's perfectly understandable to put that information on a need-to-know basis. And yeah, who would have known that Commander Keyes would need to know that very quickly? She's part of like the rear guard at Earth on a kind of ceremonial role because her dad was important. Who would think like, yeah, she is at the front line fighting the most like crazy radical new development in the war within like not that long of the Master Chief having first encountered it. And these random soldiers wouldn't know what it is either, so yes, very tragically understandable that they could, ooh, I like all of these guns. I love using the submachine gun on the Flood and the shotgun. But yes, perfectly understandable that this could happen. The Keyes family are just fucking cursed, apparently, that they managed to run into the Flood twice, leading a first encounter which is just goddamn doomed due to unfamiliarity. And there's kind of the goal of this level. For a minute when I couldn't see it at all and only the light effect had rendered, I thought that was interesting, but now that it's there... yeah, the overall look of that in the distance is very Halo 4 maxed and I don't care for it. That's a bit better, more mysterious and gold, and rather than having that like weird overly organically curved kind of Halo 4 curve, it's got more of the angular, harsh, business-oriented Halo Combat Evolved look. Anyway, that's where the, I believe that's where the index is inside that thingamajig. So you could say maybe that's the actual library, and yeah, we're just at the kind of outer gate on the way into the library. Takes a while to get in. So 1 second, let me grab something. I just wanted to check something real quick, but I can keep talking while I'm doing that. It's no problem. Yeah, so again, a nice vista here, and just again, the air feels kind of sterile and empty when I compare it to there's this kind of like all covering beaming down of warm colored light. I'm sorry. If you don't understand what I'm saying about color by this point, you might just have trouble with that, and that's on me. Again, language is hard when you're trying to put things to words that no one really has before. Like, we have language for color grading and such from cinema, but I'm talking about a video game. I'm talking about virtual color. I am talking about, you know, tint effects applied to a virtual 3D space. It's a bit more complex than that. Oh, look! Intact elite, we're getting close to our friends. And yeah, lots of them have fallen here apparently. And they look gnarly as Flood. You can just see, like, yeah, the bits of their armor hanging off the edge of the middle, which has been entirely reduced to this weird pile of rot. Very gnarly. But yeah, getting close to meeting our buddies who are, yeah, they're not waiting for Arbiter to do all the work. They're tearing right through, trying to get there just like we are. Our good old buddy, the Spec Ops Elite, maybe we'll meet him again soon. Let's see. And whoop, whoop, it keeps going. Whoop, and whoop. Yep, and yeah, that's that whole kind of indoor concretey bit done. 100,000 years war. Very, very good. Because yes, the Flood are quite old. Bang! And what is that? Something is crashing down, all kinds of shit's happening. And yeah, we were meeting elites all over the joint out there. Dead ones and ones turned into Flood, and the game didn't screw us out on our buddies. They're all here, they made it. And since we took the outer wall down, they can just airdrop in like we did on Delta Halo with the Master Chief and his friends. The elites have drop pods too, they just don't use them a lot. But they're here now, and that's nice. And yeah, as we said in the last level, where we were the Arbiter, the elites can fight the Flood pretty well, because they have shields, whereas the grunts and the regular humans, of course, do not have a good time. So yeah, Miranda Keys, we don't hold it against her. She didn't have any Master Chiefs with her. She didn't know what they were, of course she's gonna get owned. But the elites, they both know what the Flood are, and yeah, they've just got the gear that works. Oh, and check this out.
A fine battle, don't you think?
A fine battle, don't you think?
Forerunners be praised.
And
The Arbiter.
look, he just fucking holds this thing.
Zone has been compromised. We must do what we can against the Flood.
Yeesh.
Our
Look at
commander
that
has
hideous
landed
purple.
further in. Let us join him.
I guess the kind of default elite color when you're on these kind of operations is this kind of like black approaching purple.
We face a stubborn
Like,
enemy.
it's kind of a suggestion of purple rather than the color, but here it's just like, holy shit, we're like a basketball team or something. And they
Let's
have those
destroy them
retarded
together,
flat
Arbiter.
speed cycling helmets. No.
Running low, is it? Fine, Arbiter.
Did you hear what he said the first time? He's like, a bit low, is it?
Perhaps we should take a break. I could really use a nap. Yes, leader.
Yes, that's just, I wanted to show you how fucking funny it is that, like, look how small it is in his hand, this little, like, PDW SMG. And yeah, he'll retract the stock and everything, but just, look how fucking small it is in his hand, but he'll happily use it. The elite, who's a goddamn giant, will just, yeah, he'll put that thing in his hand if you give it to him, and he'll use it. And I think that's the funniest thing in the game that I can, careful buddy, that I can just...
What say you, Arbiter?
Yes, I can give human guns to the elites, and, you know, they might complain a little, but they can totally use them. Because, of course, if you don't know, in this game's multiplayer and all of them onwards, you can, play as the elites. It's, you know, the moveset is exactly the same as the Master Chief, the skeleton is a bit different. I don't actually know if it conveys an advantage or whatever, like makes you harder to headshot, but... Anyway, yes, because of that, the elite skeleton can carry every weapon in the game, has animations and everything. And, you know, they went to the work of doing that, so... And they implemented weapon swapping with allies in the campaign, so... Why not just let you give the elites every weapon? Why not just build it into Halo that you can just give a fucking shotgun to your elite friends when you're playing as the Arbiter? And yeah, that's the best idea in the game. It's fucking hilarious. It's already funny enough when the Arbiter just dual wields his pistol and submachine gun. But yeah, his friends can also do that, and you can build an army of, you know, one-hand palm grip SMG wielding elites. And look, there's our friend from the last level. Yay! Here's their little base camp. We're on top of this. Good job, team.
Arbiter, what are you doing here?
I'm the Arbiter. What else? Where else would I be?
Flood is upon us. We must hold this camp until reinforcements.
Excellent. This is, what I appreciate here is that by introducing elites as allies, they kind of solve the problem of the Flood being a kind of biological hard counter to humanity, the Marines anyway, which is that, like, they can't really give you dynamic scenarios with allies in Halo Combat Evolved because the whole idea is that humanity is doomed upon contact with these things. But if you're... so... beyond the first level with them that really just demonstrates that Marines can't fight them, to get dynamism in Flood scenes, they introduce the Sentinels, and they have mixed fights with the Covenant, so you get to see the Flood fighting stuff other than you. But yeah, then Halo 2 can have allies fighting the Flood with you who aren't completely helpless because you fight with elites now. Again, it's just, this game escalates in a very nice way of just like, all of the cool shit in the first game that was kind of around but not directly in your hands, it's just like, yeah, they just give you everything this time around, like, yeah, elite allies with shields who will just fucking tear apart the Flood with swords, why not? Also, I shot our friend the Commando a moment ago, but he's fine. The point that's very impressive is how much dialogue they recorded for these games, or like lines from each character. Like you heard all the like weird joke lines going off when I was swapping guns with the elite before. They recorded like so many of them, like compilations of all the lines you can get doing things like swapping guns with allies in the Halo games. Like there are so fucking many, like if you stack them all together, as far out as like Reach or something, it goes for like 15 minutes, the amount of like things Marines will say if you just stand in front of them. And like, yeah, this guy has a gajillion lines, so do all these guys.
Aim more carefully. Arbiter, what are you doing?
See, you know, he doesn't have like a one-off line. They very much wanted it to be, you know, alive with potential that will be realized as the scene plays out. So, you know, rather than giving him like one scripted reaction or like a few things he's meant to do, they gave him like 100 different possible things he could do, and they just put him down there, and you'll hear some of them enough to make it worth it. And if you play the game 100 different times, you might hear him say 100 different things. They've recorded that many, and people who play it will hear different things, and it's just a very interesting way to play through the game. It makes this game much more dynamic, much more interesting than its contemporaries to play over and over again.
In the center of this zone.
And as I said, two-part kind of episode or sequence or act.
We shall cut into the heart of this infestation, retrieve the icon, and burn any flood that stand in our way.
Yeah, get a load of him. He's the
Parasite
boss,
is
he
not
makes the
to be trifled
speech.
with. I hope you know what you're doing.
But yeah, we're on the team and the elites accept us. They don't consider us a failure, even though the weird little ET boss
Forward, warriors,
aliens do.
And fear not pain or death. Go, Arbiter. I'll follow when our reinforcements arrive.
Yeah, he's done plenty of up-close fighting. I don't consider him a bitch, so if he wants to follow when the reinforcements arrive, that's fine. Yeah, here's our heavy gun. This is the kind of Covenant Warthog, and it's a bit gay, but it's not the worst thing ever. What has it got over the human Warthog? It floats, which maybe makes it a bit more all-terrain, you decide. It can hold 2 side passengers instead of 1. And it comes in pink if that's your color. And it looks like this if we change the graphics. Holy god, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Okay, so first off we're in like a cool rusty hall, which actually looks like plausible dilapidation to a Forerunner facility. Also, maybe it's just how they build in snow, I don't know. But also it gives us just a unique color to plow through, and it contrasts well with our shiny but flashy machines. While this, it's more of a throwback to the snow levels in Halo Combat Evolved, so I don't hate it, and it still kind of has the dirty look, that's fine. But it's very kind of clinical, drab lit, which I don't like. And these elites look fucking terrible with hard light on them from behind. They look like they're wearing, like, Power Rangers cape shit enemy goon outfits. The, like, finish to their armor is all wrong. Like, again, they have a kind of organic look to them where, like, you can't quite tell what is their real silhouette and what is the armor. And the colors kind of naturally blend into the suit, which blends into their flesh. And just, it has a nice, weird, shiny, metallic finish that I think probably is only kind of achievable with Halo 2's engine. And realizing they couldn't do that, they went for their own finish on this. And, you know, we don't judge this as like, oh, the standard for quality is what they did in the original, but holy god, is anyone gonna look at this and say, yeah, that's as good or better than this? Like, fucking no. Holy god. Ooh, like, yeah, this is a, like, weird, cheap, plastic toy thing. This design is already kind of pushing it in frivolousness, but the, like, metallic edge and the weird, mysterious Covenant sheen and the environments we see it in, they give it ultimately like a passing grade in the original Halo 2, and then, holy good god, you combine like the different finish of the metal with the different impression of the lighting, with the construction just looking like 30% gayer, and it's just like, oh, and the elite passengers looking fucking hideous in this light, and it's just unforgivable. No. We're playing the whole level like this, I think. And yeah, here's kind of the whole premise of this level in one room. The parasite controls our vehicles. That's what this whole sequence is about. Flood in vehicles. Also, that's the Enforcer's superpower, that he can grab vehicles and punch them to death, so don't get caught under him. But yeah, the Marines punched through even further into here, and then they got chopped up by the Sentinels and the Flood. And yes, we can put elites into a Warthog if we really want to, but it's not that funny, and I'm going to try and use this silly thing because it doesn't get much of a run in this game. But then frankly, neither do Warthogs even, like really, they get the one part on Earth, and that's kind of it for them. This game is really tearing through its different bits and pieces in very quick succession. Oof. I have an idea, team. We're not taking a Warthog, but we are taking this. Yes, I already drove a tank, but the Arbiter driving a tank is another one of those images which is just inherently funny and worth doing. Come on, surviving elites, get in. I think the Enforcer might have picked up our tank. I mean, our alien Warthog. That, or he might have gotten blown up by the Wraith. Right, we actually have a ghost friend still alive back there. If I blow that up, he might be able to catch up, I don't know. But yeah, now the Steve Vai guitars kick in and we're driving the fucking tank as the Arbiter with elite gunners. That's absolutely hilarious. Again, like, they know where to sit. They sit on the sides like the Marines, but they're just elites. I find that comical. I don't know if this was intended as a joke, but it's really fucking funny to me. And again, they look fucking terrible if I change the graphics, so we won't. And there's a Pelican with a tank. I don't know if the idea is meant to be that that's survivors from Miranda's force, or if they're already completely floodified to the point where the Flood are hijacking their Pelicans, they're that fucked. But given it was getting shot at from behind, I think the idea is that, yes, as we get closer to where the index is, it's actually like Commander Key's forces were kind of dying from the back, and the most forward advancing parts are the healthiest. So, yes, like, that Pelican is still alive and is meant to be a sign that we're, like, on their heels without actually giving us the awkward scenario of having living Marines to shoot at, because that would just make us feel bad. That is something that Marathon does eventually. When the story starts getting very weird and twisting and turning, you do start, like, shooting at humans who you would at that point just been a perfectly loyal enforcer of. But, you know, this game, the Marines are more human, and I think it would have just, frankly, confused a lot of people as well. Think of, like, the Team Fortress 2 grey robots mode, where it was meant to be red and blue teams working together, but fucktards kept shooting their teammates. I do believe as well that if you put Marines in this game as enemies for a couple of the Arbiter levels, I think a lot of people would just get confused and say, like, why are they shooting at me? That probably is something that Bungie had in mind as well, not wanting to confuse or overwhelm people. But yes, I think they set this level up with they just do a good job of planting enough hints and suggestions that the Marines are ahead of you that it doesn't really feel like their presence is not established well. Like, no, I think they do a good job of giving off the impression that they're here without actually, like, putting them in our way. Like, obviously we're driving one of their tanks right now, and yeah, we had that Pelican tearing ahead, and as we get further ahead, we find more and more intact signs that they were here. Like, at the furthest back point, what do we find of Marines? We find dead Marines who are back as Flood. And we find some dead Marines who aren't yet Flood. We find a couple who are still alive and die as we get there. And then finally, as we kind of get to here, we see the Pelican flying overhead, suggesting that, like, yes, they're still alive, but they're not having a good time and they're up ahead somewhere. Oh yes, and I'll just confirm if you're wondering, someone on YouTube has tested this and they did figure it out. Yes, okay, he killed me before even the tank died. He just hit me, like, head on, and HP killed me. Oh god, is that Flood hitting me again? Did I get him? I did. What was I saying? Yes, someone figured out that yes, you can actually, by, like, boosting yourself over that gap I was watching them from, if you're very quick, you can get to that spot where the Marines were fighting Flood in the last level as the Arbiter and kill every single Flood that's attacking them. But I think it's very obvious you weren't meant to, but yes, if you do get over there, the Marines are marked as hostile. The game can process that no problem. And yeah, if you go over there, Marines will try to kill you. And that's the only point in the game, I think, where Marines are hostile. And unfortunately, I was trying to save them both again, but we lost one of our elites. Oh well. We'll see how far we can get this guy, though. He's still hanging on. And those ghost guys failed to keep up. I imagine they got blown up by the Wraiths and Enforcers in that other area. But yeah, again, if the game is kind of paralleling Halo Combat Evolved, we kind of did levels 6 and 5 backwards. We did, or even kind of 7, 6, and 5 backward. This is This 2-level sequence is those 3 levels kind of distorted and played with. Obviously, kind of driving a tank through snow. This is the assault on the control room of this game. But, you know, instead of it being the hang on, Elite, I've got an idea. Instead of it being kind of, yeah, the Master Chief going through snow, getting through the last of the Covenant, it's instead this level is, yeah, the Flood are already here, and we're fighting them in the tank in the snow. Okay, that tank swap was completely pointless and just set me up to get fucking destroyed by the Enforcer's grab. Let's just blow up this tank with hits from behind before he can turn around and aim at us. Got him! Boom, the top pops off. Very fun. First game, you couldn't blow up human vehicles, you just kill the driver inside. Not that you would ever see a tank driven by anyone else in the campaign, so it's no real problem. And in multiplayer, it's just a bit weird. Ooh, there he is again. Got his arm. Got him. Okay, now I remember, yes, I have to go through that little crack. It's just like in the last game, the tank has to go eventually. And that doesn't really bother me. We have probably extracted about as much fun from this as we can. And how do we feel about the updated graphics? Run, Elite, time to get out of there. I'm gonna tell myself he gets away. This might better convey what we're doing, but I don't know if I necessarily like that, but like, yes, the idea is we're breaking through further and further into where the index is, and we're kind of taking sideways and getting into what are real corridors, but they got kind of blown open by the fighting, and some of the proper ways through, like this whole area is kind of a wasteland torn apart by what might be the decay of time, but more likely it's, I don't know, Sentinels, the Marines, and the Covenant relatively recently just blowing all of this to shit, like whatever these are on fire. They're still on fire in new graphics, and I guess we suddenly enter like a Doom 2016 level if we do this. And again, I just prefer the kind of warm, like, the level is this color setting of the original. Hit them too. I don't know if I'm going to use this sword anytime soon, but we'll hold on to it. That's double rifle. Oop, there was one with more. Ooh, there we go. Yeah, this is how I remember playing this level the last time I went through it. I remember this level being annoying when I was a kid, but like, no, it feels very fitting now when I play it, and I think it's what they had in mind, that like, once you're on foot as the Arbiter, like, the move really is to just like run through all of this. Like, that thing isn't paying attention to me. A Flood with a rocket launcher is trying to knock it out of the sky, so let's just keep moving. And when I was a dumb kid, I probably wasn't able to, like, find the ways through as quickly, so I'd stick around fighting when you're just meant to, like, no, they're just distracted by that guy. You just run straight through. Do this over here. Oh god, he has it. Got him in time, we're fine. Oh no. Yeah, that's when you pull out your sword, Anthony. Ooh, we got sent all the way back here. It's alright, we know what to do this time. Sword. And yeah, nice quality of life feature they built in if you're dual-wielding weapons with very different ammo counts like I am. If I say to drop one, the Arbiter will drop the one that's low on ammo. So, like 96 and 32. 96 is offhand, but if I drop, 96 becomes main hand. No problem there. I'm sure that would have driven a lot of people nuts if they didn't do it, so good job. And here's this again, and I think what happened was the Flood dealt with him and then caught up behind me when I was fighting the next group. So, let's keep tearing through. And yeah, this might have annoyed me as a kid, but like now it's the kind of level I really appreciate because it's one of those kind of like wind up and play movie levels where the game parts kind of act out the movie for you. This level is a giant series of battle sequences which you just kind of pass through the middle of as they unfold. A lot of games that were kind of ostensibly about that I think were always bad at it, and it's Again, something nobody was ever able to put to words well, so it's a tradition that died off, but I think that this was, at the beginning, it was intended that this would be like what a game like Call of Duty would be about, that it's like a war movie game, and specifically that like, you aren't steering the scenarios by getting 500 kills while the rest of the army around you get like 2 between them. Of course that's what it became, and eventually that became the point, but no, I think that like the intention of Call of Duty at the start was that like, no, you're just meant to be like one of those random guys screaming "Oorah" in that scene at Enemy of the Gates, which is obviously one of the like main movies that inspired Call of Duty at the first place, and kind of this moment of military video games more generally. Yeah, like Enemy at the Gates is a big one. Call of Duty 1 and 2, they're obviously channeling that. Like, why would they have the Russians in mind? Where do they get the idea of what that is? That specific movie, obviously. And yeah, that movie is about, like, one individual war hero, but I think the idea was always, like, no, we want to, like, convey a sense of being part of, like, a great event that involved many people. And I think Call of Duty started with the ambition of realizing that, but they fucked it up eventually, and kind of the mistake became the point, as happens disappointingly with many games. If it's an interesting mistake, that's fine, but it wasn't. It just became kind of like Quake with World War II guns, and a kind of pretense that other guys are around doing stuff. Where I was like, you know, it's just a real fucking shame that like Halo better sells, that like independent entities around you are doing stuff and you are part of something bigger than games about historic human conflicts which, you know, contain far less capable actors who could actually do kind of superhuman individual feats which define something like this game. Apparently there are elites around who are talking, but I don't see them. Steel your nerves, we aren't going back. Who's saying that? Beats me. And yeah, I think that's meant to be the Pelican we saw earlier. It's gone down, the Marines are nearby. Look, they're half buried. This is okay. Again, I want to give the game credit, I want to give its strongest points a showing, so like, yeah, look at that stuff arc through the air and impact, that's very blue. But I think the cliff looks way worse and the sky above it, like compare this to that. Like it does look like very small, the area we're in, whereas like you do this and it's like, oh yeah, this is like a weird, bewilderingly large, like heavy situation, like the snow is so thick we can't quite see what's at the horizon. Like why did they get rid of the like really high stuff over there in the new skybox? It's just like, gee, we're like, this whole level's thing is that we're passing through snowy valleys and like they take out the snow and the valley and we're just kind of in a little box thing here. Like I hate how clearly defined that whole cliff is. Again, no rule saying you can't have a clearly defined cliff in a video game, but it's just, it feels like it's getting really outshone in character. And oh shit, that's who was talking. It's our friend! And I think I just died to like a physics freak out trying to get out of the ghost when it was spinning at like NASA G-force test levels. Fucking spin up a Mach 10 spin because a flood punches the side of it. Physics in action. Awesome. And where did my friend who was here a minute ago go? I don't know, but I should try to lead the enforcers into that pack of flood to resolve this for me. Ooh, he doesn't want any of this. Come on, what you got? Got him. And there's the commander. Oh, there was the commander. He flew past us very quickly. There he is. I think the idea is he's meant to be sitting on the gun to shoot them as they come, but his buddy parked him a bit funny. And oh god, the flood is sniping and rocketing me. This isn't good. Yeah, where'd my elite buddies go? I clearly need help here. There they are. They might have killed his driver. Yep, I think they did, but he can't die, so he'll cover me while I look at what's up here. Yeah, I appreciate that. Again, they're doing an environmental story here. Oh, now that's tragic. They're shooting my buddy. You see, he can't react to me, so this is all a bit silly looking. Alright, that's enough of you. You've had a bit too much fun there. But yes, obviously what this tells us again is that this is, just by scattering a bunch of props around, that yeah, this is the, like, marine defensive position, and it looks like we're at the entrance to the library proper, so, you know, Miranda Keyes says, I'm responsible like my dad, I'm going in. You guys set up machine guns here and wait for us, and yeah, sorry, Commander Keyes, but I don't think your buddies made it. But yeah, clearly we can just follow the path of marine equipment and dead guys to see where they were going. And they were going in there. Can I get him all out of that? Nope. Come on, we can do it, I believe. It said it a moment ago, I want to operate the Spectre turret. There we go. You gonna come? You gonna come with? Let's go, buddy. We gotta go beat them. We gotta go beat the humans to the index. Yeah, that's it. And look, suddenly this looks way more familiar. We're in the proper kind of classic Forerunner, like, inside business, really important area architecture, no longer like outside fuckery, different quality metals, nature getting in the way. We're in the proper machine now. And here's our pal. And here comes a little section. We're not at the end of the level, but we get to a kind of second part within the level now. Maybe this was towards the end of development. They're a bit strapped for time. In-engine cutscenes, just quickly setting up that some new section's going to start, which will be a lot of fighting. And yeah, we've caught up to...
I'll deal with these beasts.
Alright, on our way, he'll deal with them. But yeah, we got a Resident Evil kind of mountain trolley ride, and the other one next to us. Ooh, it's just like how the Master Chief was riding cyber gondolas.
I see that coward didn't join you. I'll do what I can to keep the flood off your back.
Yeah, he says it's cowardly not to join us, but he's not getting out of his ship either. The commander's on the ground fighting with his sword. Speaking of, we get a big mob of guys. Buddy, I don't know if a Needler's going to be a great pick, so take that.
Look, up ahead. The parasite gathers for an attack.
And yeah, this is just another one of those sections that I like where it's a, it's obviously a kind of like wait and just fight in one spot section, but it's really well justified and set up and interesting relative to everything else in the game, so I don't care in the slightest. I don't feel robbed that I'm being given a sequence where I just stand in place and get shot at, because this is a really cool way to do that. We're on this big kind of, you know, this could be called an arena, uncharitably, what we're fighting on, but, you know, like, look at how, like, weird this scenario is, that we're on this, like, gigantic, multi-leveled, super elaborate elevator thing. Oh man, the Flood don't give a fuck, they're punching me right in the spine. Yeah, we're on this gigantic, super complicated elevator structure, and yeah, the Flood is going to come from all over. I get 4 elites fighting with me. This is interesting, I don't mind this. And I suppose I'll try to stay with the sword elites to optimize my health. Oh shit, someone's down already. I think that was actually friendly fire. Oh well. Yeah, flood sections are meant to be violent, so whatever. Oh my god. Don't get punched in the spine again, Anthony. Get him. Let's do that until something else drops a sword or a shotgun. There we go. Oh, whoops. You may have seen that the elites are talking about albino Sasquatch, our friend Tartarus, and they don't particularly like him or consider him smart. He's just a very obnoxious guy who likes to hang out in the control center and call everybody a bitch. We don't need him, we're on top of this. We're the real elites, he's just kind of... You know, who gave him this job? What merit has he demonstrated lately? Look out, buddies! Yeah, elites are fucking strong if you give them swords. Yep. And, yeah, where's the one who doesn't have a sword yet? Get over here, buddy, I want to power you all up. See, this is one of the few kind of halfway useful things you can do. Just distribute swords everywhere in these levels where you can. And these three elites who are left will be absolute fucking beasts. And yeah, other than that, a submachine gun is funny and actually pretty good at the flood. Again, I can't get over that he just fucking palm grips this thing in front of himself with one hand. It's like the size of a pocket pistol for the Arbiter. But yeah, as much fun as it is to give them submachine guns, it's also fun to give them swords and kinda useful. Makes them more likely to make it through this, so we'll do that. And yeah, I'm also a goddamn beast with a sword, so no problem. Not saying I'm good at using them, the sword just basically uses itself, but... I just mean I'm much more survivable. Oh god, the camera's doing weird things because the elevator's moving. Gotta be careful not to kill my buddies. Yeah, I wanted to look off this thing to appreciate how we're like... Yeah, we are truly in the library again, just what's happening is... Yeah, instead of walking through it, we're flying through it on this elevator that goes like 360 degrees. Which is... Again, I think this is kind of an answer to what people didn't like about the library in the first game. Like, you know, people say like, oh, it's fucking garbage, you walk around forever and wait in front of doors. Well, alright, here's Library 2, like the full-blown actual library part of the level. You're on this weird, tiered Unreal Tournament arena with a bunch of elites, and a gajillion swords are going to drop, so you can just have this really crazy one-off encounter with the Flood where, yeah, you and a team of elites with swords just fucking destroy them. Is that difficult or challenging? No, but it's fucking cool, and if we don't put this here, where else does it go? It's kind of a make-your-own spectacle moment. Or if you turn up the difficulty, this part might be completely miserable, I don't know. I'll let you in on a trick. Speedrunners on legendary difficulty, unless they've found a way to skip it entirely, what they do is, there is a place on this elevator sequence where if you just crouch in place and look at a wall, the Flood can't reach you, so you just do that for the entire... Like, you just put the controller down for like 10 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever it is, while this whole sequence plays out and the Flood just arrive and can't do anything.
We will protect this vessel.
But yeah, like, you might not have been noticing because I was paying attention to the Flood, but that like whole time we were like going up, and then we're going sideways, then we're going forward. We were moving through an entire complex.
For the Covenant and the journey.
Yeah, we get to hear that line because we kept one of our buddies alive. You see how enthusiastic the team is? The Arbiter gets good team spirit out of the gang. You know, for like one cutscene in his first level, the elites aren't crazy about him. But then after that, it's just, you know, he's a good team player, everyone likes him. And here we are. A bit better lit than last time, but this is the library, and yeah, practically nothing is happening because the Marines beat us to it. And apparently they did a pretty good job, because there's nothing much in our way now. or there just weren't many Flood this far into the thing, but yeah, it's very quiet, which again I think is kind of Bungie responding to and playing with how this whole sequence was received in the first game. And yeah, Marine bodies just scattered everywhere so that you don't, you know, whichever route you take in, you don't miss them entirely, because they want you to appreciate that, like, yes, you're almost there. The last few Marines were dying right around here. It's pretty quiet. You're almost at the center of the library. That's right, you're only recognizably in the structure for like 10 seconds, you fight 2 Flood, and you're in. And here's a cutscene where a lot happens. There's Miranda Keyes. Like her dad, her people aren't having a good day, but she's doing fine. She thinks the mission is still going okay. She's going to get the index. Apparently she's fallen out of touch with her man, or she's decided no time to focus on that. We're just gonna get on the grind here and worry about the rest later.
You know, your father never asked me for help either.
The index is secure.
And let's quickly uglify this.
Mackenzie, Perez, how's our exit?
Ugh.
You hear me, Marines?
Yeah, I'm a much bigger fan of how, like, everyone looks here. Oh, and look. Yeah, we get double submachine guns Commander Keyes in this scene in this, but she only uses one in the remake, which is fucking terrible. Ooh. But look, it's the Arbiter. We finally meet.
How you doing?
Sergeant, stay down.
Yes, the Arbiter finally makes it. It's just him and the last 2 humans, who are the named characters. And yeah, the Arbiter's not having any of anybody's shit. Oh, and look who's here.
Excellent work, Arbiter. The hierarchs will be pleased. The icon.
Tartarus shows up and knocks out one teenage girl.
Now it is mine.
And hey, good job, team, right?
A bloody fate awaits you and the rest of your
Yeah, this doesn't feel like a team
race.
reunion.
I, Tartarus, chieftain of the brutes, will send you to it. When the prophets learn of this, they will take your head when they learn. Fool. They ordered me to do it.
Oh shit. Yeah, it's just a very nice, cool scene where we get the Arbiter meeting humans for the first time. And that's very one-sided, but yeah, then things just take another turn. I have read from the storyboards of Halo 2 that there was meant to be a lot more going on here. Jason Jones had this idea of like a giant crawling tank thing that the level would revolve around, and that there would be a much more extended sequence of the Arbiter meeting Johnson and Keyes, and that maybe also the Chief would arrive and that would be a big meetup. But, you know, the game became what it is, and I'm ultimately quite happy with that, so yeah, here's where the plot actually goes.
What is that?
If you remember, the Master Chief... Ooh,
I am a monument to all your sins.
Kino! He said the Kino line. But yes, if you don't remember, the Master Chief, last time we saw him, he jumped into that giant lake
I'd rather not piss
and
this
got
thing
grabbed
off.
by a tentacle.
This one is
And the Arbiter got knocked down into a deep place as well, and also got grabbed by a tentacle of all things.
This one is but flesh and faith, and is the more deluded.
Kill me or release me, parasite. But do not waste my time with talk.
There is much talk, and I have listened.
I fucking love this thing.
Rock and metal and time.
He said my favorite line, but all of his lines are good.
Shall talk, and you shall listen.
Greetings. I am 2401 Penitent Tangent. I am the monitor of Installation 05.
And I am the Prophet of Regret.
Oh, look.
Counselor Most
He
High,
got regrets.
Hierarch of the
That's
Covenant.
funny.
A reclaimer? Here? At last. We have much to do. This facility must be activated if we are to control this outbreak.
Stay where you are. Nothing can be done until my sermon is complete.
Not true. This installation has a successful utilization record of 1.2 trillion simulated and 1 actual. It is ready to fire.
This game is
on
fucking
command.
great. Oh god, we had it good.
There are none so worthless as these oracles. They know nothing of the great journey.
And you know nothing about containment. You have demonstrated complete disregard for even the most basic.
This is a very entertaining movie game in my opinion. Joseph Staten just did a great job bringing all of this together, and whoever else was working on the script and final realization of scenes in this game.
From a doomed existence, but you will find no salvation on this ring.
And yeah, things are...
Those who built this place knew what they wrought. Do not mistake their intent, or all will
Yes, already at this point, things have been laid out in Halo. You can put together what it's all about,
This
but
thing is right.
here is
Halo
the
is a
characters
weapon.
really
The prophets
getting it
are
all
making a
from the
big
horse's
mistake.
mouth here.
Your ignorance already
The
destroyed
Chief has a
one of
decent
the
grip, but
things
you know, like,
shall
he
not
also gets
harm.
called Reclaimer by that other
You will
Oracle.
not hear the truth, then I will show it to you.
And here is the Flood speaking to us. If you can't tell what this is,
From turning, but first it must be found. You will search one likely spot, and you will search another. Fate had us meet as foes, but this ring will make us brothers.
this is very kind of classic Bungie to do like weird, fucked up alliances and turnings of who you meet and what's happening between them. And yeah, that's like what happens in Marathon. You end up like working with the insane, malevolent intelligence which has been fucking you over. And now what's happening in Halo, you end up working for the fucking Flood, kind of indirectly and loosely.
In truth, this is a time to rejoice.
And look, the Covenant have TV. Sort of.
The sacred icon has been found. With it, our path is
These
clear.
guys don't minister to the masses through like a giant balcony overlooking a great live audience. Though they do have that where they tortured the Arbiter, but no, they also have TV, just in case you were wondering.
Kill the demon.
And this is a cutscene that feels very, like, late. The teleporting, of course... I'll kind of clear this room and say some things, and then we might call this episode, but... Yes, I just wanted to say that...
Take them out before it's berserking.
In the first game, I really strongly get the impression that, like, they start teleporting the Master Chief around the ring as a way to compensate for, you know, being really crunched in development and just needing to, like, string scenes together with, like...
Demon has infiltrated the council chamber! Protect the hierarchs! Seal the exits!
Oh, I don't think so.
Yes, it's very much just a way to set up, like, okay, we can just have the plot, like, go anywhere, like, teleportation being reintroduced is their, like, okay, any character can get anywhere button, which they hit when the production is at a hard point, I think, because I believe if you look at the original screenplay of Halo 2, which was also meant to be the last game and kind of has the loose plot of Halo 3 worked into it, I believe that the Master Chief and Arbiter don't start getting teleported around, so I think that at a certain point in development they're like, okay, we have so many levels built and we have to, like, you know, cut this from the plot and we can't do this level. And they're like, okay, we've got this and that, and it's like, okay, but, like, the Arbiter is here and the Chief is here, what do we do? And yeah, I'm sure Jason Jones just, no, I'm sure Joseph Staten just gives his little Joseph Staten smile and just says, like, alright, we're going to do the teleporting again, you know I gotta say it. And yeah, just good on them that they have this attitude, this willingness to make things work when they're obviously having trouble. And yeah, I think it's very obvious that the spirit of Bungie, which made them great, is the eclectically functioning PC workshop model that they ran on, where kind of everything is kind of half a technical experiment, notebooks full of stuff that never get refined into professional copy standard. It's all just kind of ideas flying around all over the place. It's the Brexit bloke working in his shed. And that's great for... Okay, here's where I can have a minute to talk. That's great for just getting to, you know, throw around lots of ideas with lots of dynamism, you know, a low drag, very, like, free structure, but, you know, once you're on a professional timetable working with people who have firmer expectations and, you know, there's less of a desire to, like, you know, these people aren't looking for novelty. Halo succeeded. They're looking for Halo 2. People who can just, you know, make the hard decisions, say, we're gonna start teleporting characters, we're gonna just, like, contrive this scene to make it happen because it's what we can make and the game needs to happen and be made of enough things happening to be complete.
There's a door at the other end of the chamber.
What I was getting at is just a thought I've been getting at with some people recently, been talking about this in writing, that I really get the impression that Jason Jones and Greg Kirkpatrick are about the same kind of guy when it comes to, like, being able to deal with complexities of industrial rather than kind of workshop production. And yeah, it's really all of the signs that, like, Halo 2 was kind of rushed, cut together, kind of haphazardly made to work at the last minute. I kind of consider those, this game's, like, marks of glory, like, they really define it, like, make it a brilliant production that they were able to do that, because, you know, the alternative, if they don't have guys capable of doing that on the staff, is not, like, a purer, more soulful game. It's fucking Greg Kirkpatrick's Duality. It's a dead game, so, yes, very, very nice that they were able to... In the back end of this game, you'll see a lot of things happening where if you kind of think about it, you'll think like, okay, so they just like shot you from one area to another with like 2 lines of dialogue justifying it. Were they kind of under the pump setting this up? The answer is yes. This wasn't meant to happen, but they made it what happened, and they did their best, and for the most part, I think what they did end up with in the finished game all has a very good level of polish that I am very happy to call acceptable. And yeah, in the first game, what are some things that barely got in? Like, you may have heard me say that, like, yeah, they were saying sniper rifle or shotgun, we're gonna have to cut one, we don't know if they're gonna get in. In Halo 2, it went further than that, like, entire levels were cut relatively late into development, but also, the brutes, I heard, they were, like, decently along into development. They weren't sure if they would get these guys finished, you know, all of their behavior, all of the unique animations they require, all the rigging, all the skeletons, all the modeling. They weren't even sure if, like, they would have, like, brutes properly set up in the game for you to be able to fight, but of course, here they are. It's kind of, you know, you already knew what the Flood were if you played Halo 1, so they just show up in the Arbiter's sequence, which is like the second act of the game, and it's no great twist. So what's your kind of combat evolution at the end of Halo 2? It's these guys showing up. The brutes are now here. The gigantic, mean, scary, surly Sasquatch aliens who compete with and don't like the elites and seem to be the new favorites of the Covenant leadership. And of course, if you read into all the dynamics with that and so on, the Covenant is run by degenerate liars who can't handle the best elements of their own population, and so they would rather kind of be done with them and replace them with more pliable and cooperative and less intelligent goons rather than kind of cultivated higher beings who are better and ultimately would be better for their civilization, but, you know, the leaders are degenerate. They want power more than the flourishing of the entire social unit or even themselves long term. Because, you know, the elites are better leaders, they are more civil, they are more intelligent, and these guys are just dumb muscle, but yeah, the Arbiters are, I mean, the prophets and the kind of higher leadership in general are very happy to jettison the best element of the Covenant if it means they get to stay in charge and control the rest. And so these guys, you may have been noticing with how they fight, no shields, they use cruder weapons generally, they don't have swords, they have red tuned up plasma rifles, which I consider very cool. And let's look at the alternative of this whole sequence. It's okay. And the brutes, they look alright in this game. Where the brutes really get fucked up is in the later Halos, but they kind of retroactively made them cool again in Halo 2 Alpha because, of course, they had to fit them over the new skeletons, and that's really what happened. Like, they changed the entire build of them in Halo 3, and I think even in Halo 3, where they're actually the main enemy, they look like shit in that game, in my opinion. So, yeah, Halo 2, best they ever looked. Halo 2 Alpha, actually the second best that brutes ever looked, I'm going to say. But yeah, I kind of love these guys. They're just a weird late twist in the game. They're these, you know, hulking, scary bruisers, and they show up and fill in a weird combat niche that just makes you think differently about fights for the rest of the game. They're sort of like when the Mercurius show up in Myth 2. Spoilers for a, like, 25-year-old game, by the fucking way. It's not a great twist. The Mandalore show already told you that. But whatever. Anyway, where are we? Where did that whole convoluted cutscene I was talking over go? Well, we were talking to the, you know, weird sentient intelligence behind the Flood, which is kind of the speaker for the mass, which is intelligent because it has eaten 100 gajillion people. And yeah, it said, we need to stop the key from turning. He means if the Covenant turn on the Halo ring, everybody dies. So we have to stop that. And he said, you go one way, you go another. The three of us will try to stop this. And he sent the Master Chief to High Charity. We're in that gigantic Death Star city ship that the Covenant fly around in. And he was completely right that the Prophets had the index and were right in front of us. But they shut down this elevator and got away. So the Master Chief has to chase their leadership through their capital city to find the index and stop them. Isn't that fun? Well, this level has some twists and turns built into it. Again, it's very much kind of an excellent showcase of the strengths of Bungie's, you know, its engine and their approach to construction. There are lots of scenes of cool stuff happening in this level where, you know, rather than it all just following a script and playing out, they drop the parts they've built in place and they put on the show for you, and it's different in each time. You can probably kind of get at where we're going, but yeah, next level, next whole act sequence of the game, very fun and entertaining. We'll get to look at more Covenant architecture and kind of signs of civil life and just how they are than we've seen in any other level in these games so far. And we'll get to see cool behaviors, some new scenarios that are quite fun to play through. And yeah, this game, it's a very fast, fun movie game, and it's coming to a head very soon. It should be quite fun to, power through what's like, depending on how I stack it up, it might be like 2 episodes left, or even like one long one. Yeah, probably more likely 2, but yeah, there's not a lot left to this game, and it's all going to get very entertaining and fast. A lot of cool stuff is going to happen, but yeah, I hope you also didn't mind watching me just kind of plow through the Flood Valley for a little while and talk about how much it amuses me to watch the Arbiter hold a submachine gun. And I hope that Cortana repeatedly saying they've locked it from below didn't drive you crazy. But yes, we've gotten another video out today. Hope you like that, and we will call it here. Look forward to the next one. Very cool level coming up. Thank you.